Hi there, I'm Timothy Linsdau, video producer and a Christian. Saw an article recently on trees, how they transport water from their roots to the top of the tree. As with redwoods in California, some of those are 300 feet high, so that's quite a feat. But scientists are looking at how the trees accomplish this process, and then applying it to desalination, purification of water, transportation of water against gravity. All those things are especially important in regions like Southern California, where even though near the ocean, it's still a desert region as far as rainfall is. So they're always looking for methods dealing with that issue. Like and comment on my video and subscribe to support my channel if you would. So these scientists are working on a new system with using aerogel that helps transport this water. Now, what is aerogel? I thought that was kind of interesting. It's a synthetic porous material derived from a gel, in which the liquid component of the gel has been replaced with a gas. Now, the result is a solid and extremely low density thermal conductivity. It's nicknamed frozen smoke, solid air, or blue smoke, owing to its translucent nature and the way light scatters in this material. However, it feels like expanded polystyrene or styrofoam to the touch. When I see the word styrofoam, I see many people being frightened over pollution. I don't know if that's an issue or not. They've been, one of the issues, they looked at polluted water, sandy water, clean water, and, they discovered the clean water was easier to work with, but to be able to make it work with all those things is really important. So recreating an efficient tree-like transport system has been challenging, of course. Most previous attempts exhibited relatively slow transport speeds and distances, and a decrease in performance when transporting sewage and seawater, as I mentioned. With the new aerogel design, the researchers demonstrated improvements, and the system also works well. In addition, the carbon heat collector achieves a high energy conversion efficiency up to 85%. So lots of big numbers and words, basically figuring out a way to copy what trees have already done for whenever. I guess that it brings up issues of how did trees end up having the ability to do this? And then we come into the argument of designing. The people are trying to design this system to work like a tree. So they're studying a tree that already has a system. So it brings up the question, did this happen by accident over time, or was it designed? And that takes us to the old argument. Now, the way that system works is the water is absorbed through the roots of the tree, into the tree, and up the tree into the leaves. Now, there's specially designed, if you will, system in the vessel. It's called xylem. Now, combination of other factors, but scientists are getting closer to mimicking the amazing vertical passage of water for the purpose of future large-scale desalination and sewage treatment. These vessels, these xylem vessels, are set up for that water to pass through. The trees are either mastered it or were designed for it. But studies have shown how sophisticated this unbroken vertical column of water is, continually moving, as we know, from as much as 100 meters. Water and minerals enter the root system, flow through the xylem, but they're subject to a pulling force called transpiration. Now, what transpiration is a loss of water vapor through specialized openings called stomata on the underside of leaves of the tree. Now, over 20% of the water taken up by the roots is released to the air as water vapor. This physical pulling action is also due to the unique chemical attachment between water molecules called hydrogen bonding. The water molecules stick together, forming a transpiration stream, also called the cohesion tension theory. This produces an unusually stable column of constantly moving water. I mean, phew. But that's apparently how it all works. Now the challenge is, can people figure out a way to copy this? And understanding that they looked around, they studied aerogel and how it functioned and how it would work with transporting water, and understanding, first studying a tree and understanding how it did its process and how could they copy it. So that's what they're working on, is an anti-gravity water transport system is what you're talking about. Near where I live, well, half hour, 45 minutes, is a desalination plant, and they use a filtering system to remove the salts. So this is another process, hopefully cheaper, more efficient. We'll see. Efficiently moving water upward against gravity is a major feat of human engineering, and recreating an efficient tree-like water transport system has been a big, big challenge. It's very complex, and some of the argument is, is this stuff we see in trees designed, or did it develop over many, many millennia, or whatever time you want to use? But that's the sum of the argument. But one way or the other, whether it's an argument or not, or where it came from, let's hope they can come up with some success. So water in places like Southern California and sewage treatment aren't such a challenge, aren't so difficult, aren't so expensive. Just to give you an idea of how this thing works, a new system contains two main components: a long porous ultralight aerogel to transport water, and a carbon nanotube layer on the top of the aerogel to absorb sunlight and turn the water into steam. Now the system is enclosed in a glass container. Water travels upward through the pores in the aerogel due to capillary forces, which are caused by adhesion between the water molecules and the inner surface of the pores. Once the water reaches the top, the solar-heated carbon nanotube layer heats the water into steam, leaving any contaminants behind. The steam condenses on the sides of the surrounding glass container, forming water droplets that flow into the bottom of the container into a reservoir for collection. Sounds like a still, doesn't it? That's what they've come up with. But the design, again, is very similar to the one that plants use. As we've talked about, plants contain many tiny xylem vessels that draw water from the ground through the branches and leaves. And once the water reaches the leaves, the solar radiation causes the water to evaporate through the tiny pores in the leaves, remember, similar to carbon solar steam generator. That evaporation in those pores creates that pulling action that continues to pull the water up. And the process of trying to recreate that has been a huge challenge. But with this aerogel and this type of what I would call it a still, may be a way to solve that water problem and to also purify water. So you'd be doing a combination of things. And of course, recycling would be a big part of that, let alone the desalination importance in places like any place that's on the ocean is going to see this as an important invention for the ability to desalinate water. So there you are, copying the ability of what trees already have in them for our needs of water and purifying water is interesting. Studying nature and how we can apply it to our needs Amazing stuff, amazing stuff. So anyway, like and comment on the video, subscribe to support the channel. And you know what? Just like these scientists are trying to make, go out there and make it a great day.